Hello everyone, this is the second lecture of atomic structure and chemical bonding, and in this video we will discuss the structure of atom. So in the first lecture we have discussed Dalton's atomic theory and the discovery of different constituent of an atom, that is electron, proton and neutron. So if you have not watched that video yet, please watch the video first. I will give the link of the video in the description. Now, in structure of atom, we will discuss how different constituent of atoms are arranged in an atom. So, the first model of atom was given by J.J. Thomson, because J.J. Thomson discovered electron. So, he gave a model which is called Thomson's atomic model. Now, Thomson's atomic model is also called raisin pudding model or watermelon model. Now, let's see what was Thomson's atomic model. So, according to Thomson, atom has spherical shape and electrons are embedded in atom like raisins are embedded in pudding or seeds are embedded in watermelon. In the similar way, electrons are embedded. Now, the problem was because the charge of electron that was already discovered by J.J. Thomson. So, J.J. Thomson actually knew only two things. One, atom is electrically neutral, and the second one, that atom consists of negatively charged particles which were called electrons, because electrons were discovered by J.J. Thomson. So, on the basis of that, J.J. Thomson proposed a model which is called raisin pudding model or watermelon model. So, electrons are embedded within the atom like seeds of watermelon are embedded in the watermelon, or the raisins are embedded in pudding. So, that's why it is called raisin pudding model or watermelon model. And remaining part of an atom is a positive charged body, means the whole atom acts as a positive charged body, and electrons inside the atom, they will act as negative charged particles. So, the negative charge of the electrons will neutralize the positive charge of the whole atom, which is distributed evenly in the whole atom. So, that's how he explained why the atom is electrically neutral and how the electrons are present within the atom. Now, this model was challenged by Rutherford. So, Rutherford did an experiment which is known as Rutherford's experiment or Rutherford's alpha particle scattering experiment. So, what is this experiment and how this experiment proved that J.J. Thomson's model was not the right model of an atom? So, in Rutherford's experiment, it consists of a radioactive substance like uranium or radium, which is a source of alpha particles. So, remember, any radioactive substance, it emits three types of particles. One is called alpha particle. So, alpha particle has positive charge. Then beta particle. Beta particle has negative charge. And one is called gamma rays. Gamma are not particle. So, gamma rays are emitted by radioactive substance. So, these three kind of radiation is emitted from a radioactive substance. So, alpha particles were used in this experiment. So, for alpha particles, we require a source of alpha particle, that is radioactive substance. So, alpha particle is equivalent to the nucleus of helium, means if you will remove the electrons from a helium atom, it will act as an alpha particle, or you can say it has similar properties as alpha particle. Its mass and charge is same as alpha particle. So, we have a radioactive substance, that is the source of alpha particles from where alpha particles are obtained. Then this radioactive substance is kept in a lead box. Why it is kept in a lead box? Because lead has the tendency to absorb radiation. So, lead can absorb this radiation. Otherwise, the radiation, especially gamma rays, can pass through any substance, but lead has very high capability to absorb the radiation. That's why we use a lead box, and radioactive substance is kept inside the lead box. Now lead slit is used to direct the alpha particles so that we can decide in which direction alpha particles should move. Now we have a thin gold foil. This thin gold foil is used on which the bombardment of alpha particles is done. So alpha particles strike this thin gold foil. Now this gold foil is covered by a fluorescent screen. So you already know that fluorescent screen glow whenever some particles strike on the screen. So during this experiment you have to remember the 3 observations, and on the basis of those 3 observations Rutherford reached to 3 conclusions. So the first observation, that the alpha particles, when Rutherford did this experiment, he observed that most of the alpha particles pass the gold foil without any obstruction, means like there is nothing in the path of the alpha particles, so they move without any deviation. So most of the alpha particles, and how we know that? Because we observed the most of the glow in midsection. Now some of the alpha particles, very few alpha particles are deviated through their path. Very few alpha particles, very small number of alpha particles are deviated from its path by a small angle. And the third observation, that very small number reflected back after striking the gold foil. So in this experiment we have these 3 observations. The first, that most of the alpha particles, more than 99% of alpha particles pass the gold foil without any deviation. They move straight and pass the gold foil. The second, that a few alpha particles are deviated from their path by a small angle, and a very small number of alpha particles are reflected back after striking the gold foil. So on the basis of this observation, Rutherford reached to a conclusion that because most of the alpha particles are passing through the gold foil, it means for most of the alpha particles there is nothing in their way. It means for most of the alpha particles gold foil has empty space, because only then they can move in a straight path. Otherwise they will be deviated from their path, but most of the alpha particles are moving forward without any deviation. It means they do not face any obstruction in their path. It means their path is completely empty, but there is gold foil in their path. It means what? It means gold foil has the atoms of gold, and it means most of the space within an atom is empty. So about more than 99.9% of space within an atom is empty. Now the second and third conclusion, because some alpha particles are deviated by a small angle and some are reflected back. This is because the alpha particles are deviated or reflected back because they may face a heavy mass in their path, due to which they are deviated, and also the heavy mass should have same charge as these alpha particles. So the charge of alpha particles is positive. It means they will face a heavy mass, and the charge of that heavy mass should also be positive, because if an alpha particle will move near a positive charge which have very high mass, the alpha particle will deviate because of the repulsion between positive and positive charge, and also the alpha particle can reflected back from its path. So hope you have understood it. Now on the basis of this conclusion, Rutherford proposed a model. He said that because most of the space within an atom is empty and almost whole mass of atom is concentrated in very small space, as I told you that more than 99.9% space within an atom is empty. So there is very small space in which almost whole mass of an atom is concentrated. Now this small space in which the whole mass of an atom is concentrated and also all the positive charge is concentrated, that small space is called nucleus. So nucleus was discovered by Rutherford. So you have to remember it, that the discovery of nucleus was done by Rutherford. Now because nucleus has positive charge and almost whole mass of atom is stored in the nucleus, and the mass of atom is generally due to protons and neutrons, also electrons, but the mass of electrons is almost negligible as compared to mass of proton and neutron. So you can say that protons and neutrons are the main constituents which are responsible for mass of an atom. Now the nucleus has positive charge, but you already know that atom is not positive charged, atom is electrically neutral. So Rutherford gave a model of atom according to which nucleus is present at the center of an atom and electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular path, and these circular paths are called orbits. So this was the Rutherford's atomic model, and this is how he proved that the Thomson's model of atom was not a correct model. And in this model he explained the revolution of electrons around the nucleus. As you know that the earth move around the sun, so in same way electrons also move around the nucleus. So because for any circular motion, there are two forces which are responsible. So whenever, suppose this is a center and a substance is moving around this center, so there should be two kind of forces. One is called centripetal force, which is towards the center, and other is called centrifugal force. Centrifugal force is away. So due to the balancing of these two forces, the substance, suppose one body is moving in a circular path, then it will face or it will experience both the forces. One is centrifugal force as well as centripetal force. So centripetal force towards the central and centrifugal force outwards. So in case of the motion of earth around the sun, the centripetal force is due to the gravitational force between sun and earth. So sun will try to attract the earth towards itself, but earth has its own momentum, so earth will always try to move away from the center, but also the sun will attract the earth due to the gravitational force. So due to this centripetal and centrifugal force, the body, means the earth, cannot move away from the sun, neither it can move towards the sun. So it will move in a circular path. So in same way, due to the momentum of electrons, electron will have the tendency to move in a straight path. So they will try to move away from the nucleus, but nucleus has positive charge, electron has negative charge. So due to these opposite charges, the nucleus will always try to attract the electron towards itself. So in the same way, electron can neither move away from the nucleus nor towards the nucleus. So it will move in a circular path. Now, what was the problem in Rutherford's atomic model? You can see that in Thomson's atomic model, there were some problem, because if this was the atomic model, then it was not possible for alpha particle to cross the gold foil, because the whole atom is a solid body. So according to this model, the atom is not complete solid body, but atom has most of space empty. Now Rutherford's atomic model also have some drawbacks or some limitations, due to which we have to study Bohr's atomic model. In Rutherford's atomic model, an electron is moving in a circular path, but if electron is moving in a circular path, it will keep losing its energy. And if electron will keep losing its energy, the path of electron will become smaller and smaller, and there will come a time when it will collapse and it will strike the nucleus. So in this way, the atom cannot be stable, means there will be always a collapse of atom. But we know that atoms are very stable, that's why we are here, that's why there are so many bodies, there are so many objects which are made of atoms. But if atom is not stable, how all the things are stable? It means this model has a huge drawback because it cannot explain how the atom is stable. Now we will move to the next atomic model which explains the stability of an atom. The next model is given by Bohr and it is called Bohr's atomic model. So Bohr's atomic model is slightly different from the Rutherford's atomic model. So the first thing that was done by Bohr was to explain the stability of an atom. So according to Bohr's atomic model, nucleus is present at the center of an atom and electrons revolve around the nucleus in circular path. Now these circular paths are called energy levels. These circular paths are called energy levels, or we also call them orbits or shells. Now what is the different thing about these shells? That these shells are not any random circular path, means these are the fixed circular paths. Suppose if this is the energy level, now these energy levels are named like K, L, M, or they are numbered 1, then 2, then 3 and so on, K, L, M, N and 1, 2, 3, 4 so on. So these are numbered or these are given the name. So if this is an energy level, so electron must move in this energy level, and then there is second energy level, then electron will move in this energy level. But there is no way that electron can move in a circular path between these two energy levels. So it means the circular path of the electron is fixed. If an electron is moving in this circular path or an electron is moving in this circular path, the electron cannot move in a circular path between two consecutive energy level. Either electron will be in the first shell, means first energy level, or in second energy level, or in third or in fourth, but not in between first and second. So it means the electrons have the fixed circular path, and these circular paths are called energy levels, or they are also called shells. So this is the first point about the Bohr's atomic model. The second point, whenever electrons move from one energy level to another energy level, it gains or loses the energy. Now this is the first energy level, this is the lowest energy level, means the energy level lower than this is not possible. So if the electron will have very small amount of energy, or you can say the lowest energy, the electron will be present in this orbit. After gaining some energy, if electrons gain some energy, they will move from a lower energy level to a higher energy level, and if electrons lose some energy, they will move from higher energy level to lower energy level. So this is how electron will not move in any random path. That's how the collision between nucleus and electron is not possible, because this is the lowest possible energy of an electron. The electron cannot have the energy lower than this. It means this electron cannot come closer to the nucleus. After this, this is the shortest distance between the electron and the nucleus, and the electron will not come any closer. So this is how the stability of atom was explained by Bohr's atomic model. Now there are some drawbacks of Bohr's atomic model. However, they are not included in our syllabus, so we are not going to discuss them. So we have to remember that there are some energy levels 1, 2, 3, or they are also named K, L. The first is designated by K, the second one is by L, third is M, fourth is N, and so on. So hope you have understood the structure of atom. Now we know how an atom looks like. So an atom consists nucleus in the center. So if you want to have a picture of an atom in your mind, the nucleus of an atom is very small as compared to whole size of an atom. So if we assume that the size of a nucleus is equal to the size of a cricket ball, you have seen a cricket ball. So if nucleus has this size, means the size of a cricket ball, then the size of atom will be about the sphere, which is having the radius of about 5 kilometers. So you can imagine what is the difference between the size of an atom and the size of nucleus. The size of nucleus is almost negligible as compared to the size of an atom. So that's why I told space within an atom is almost empty. More than 99.9% space of an atom is empty. So hope you have understood this topic. If you have any doubts, you can ask your questions in the comment box. Thank you very much.